Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all as always. We thank you for joining us today for our art-based meditation session brought to you by the National Museum of Asian Art. I'm Demi Mohammed, the museum's public programs assistant, and I'm thankful that you've chosen to take this time to share with us. Today's meditation will be led by Phil as we focus on pieces from a new exhibition that highlights a facet of Korean culture and history. And again, we thank you for joining us, and I'll pass it to Phil to get us started.
Thank you so much, Demi. I wanted to extend my welcome to you all. I'm so glad to be here to join you for another opportunity. Take a look at an extended look at something that is now present at the National Museum of Asian Art. You'll notice that Demi said very little about the work we'll be engaging with today, and I'm also being purposefully vague. That's by design. After we get centered into a more meditative mode, I'd like to spend some time with a few objects without knowing much about them before we see them. And I kind of imagine this as a bit like a mystery tour or a puzzle, where each object will provide hints about what each is individually and what their function or functions or purposes are collectively. So in just a bit, we'll take a close look at these objects, and I'll ask you some pointed questions about them and just, see what comes forward for you. You might make a mental note of what comes. If you happen to know what these objects are because you're an expert or you've seen the exhibit, I'll ask you to refrain from saying too much so others can have the experience of resting in the not knowingness, right? That's kind of an interesting experience, not knowing, being presented with something, not really knowing what it is. And maybe something intuitively will come. Let's see. All right, sounds like an interesting way to spend a few minutes on a Friday. Why not? I'm so glad you're here. Why don't we get ready for our meditation? And today's practice, it can be done seated, it can be done lying down. I imagine most of you will be seated for this practice, but adjust your seat as necessary to be comfortable, and we'll begin shortly. And we don't have to fuss too much about the position because I'd like to start with some movement. So if you would raise one hand toward the sky, just go ahead and reach as best you can. And then let that arm come on down. Let it fall and be heavy. Do the same with the other arm. Reach a little stretch today. And then let that come down. Really notice it heavy as it lands. Let's do that again. First arm reaching, maybe you inhale here. And then maybe you exhale as you lower. Nice and heavy. Other arm inhaling. Exhaling, lowering. Let's do this one more time. First side, inhale. Exhale, lower. Second side. And lower. Allow the sensation from the arms to come to your conscious awareness. The arms perhaps a little heavy, a little more relaxed. And let them tell you how they'd like to be. Maybe the hands would like to rest on your thighs or in your lap. And notice too what your eyes would like. Would your eyes like to be closed for a bit? Or would they like to remain open? Little by little, we're acclimating our attention to the body, what the body feels, what the body knows, what it expresses. Now, to get into the body even more, I invite you to place one hand on your chest, the other hand on your belly. And see if you might relax the belly down there. Relax it and let your inhalation drop down deep. As you exhale, you relax. And again, your inhalation maybe bypasses the chest, heads for the belly. As you exhale, relax. Good. A couple more of these delicious belly breaths. Now let's layer over the exhalation a gentle hum. So inhale, receive the breath. As you exhale, find a pitch that works for you. And you might modulate that pitch, rising and falling. Keep going. If humming isn't accessible today, just imagine the hum. But here's an opportunity to feel into the body. Feel the vibratory impact of the hum and the breath. We'll do a couple more here. Enjoying the vibrations in the body. And after that last out breath, release the hands again. Eyes gently closed if you like. And settle your attention into sensation. The tingling in the face. Lingering vibrations in the throat. the presence in the chest. As we further trust sensation to hold our attention, notice your shoulders. And imagine your shoulders draping over the body like a heavy coat over a hanger. And that draping sensation carries down through the arms, the elbows, the wrists and hands. And similarly, relax the hips. Allowing attention to touch into the hips, down into knees, ankles, and feet. And bring attention to the base of the spine, the tailbone, the sacral region. And can you imagine a small puffy cloud forming here? And this cottony cloud starts to rise up the spine, touching into the sacrum, moving up into the low back, the lumbar spine. This nearly transparent cloud rises gently up into the mid back and the thoracic spine of the upper back slowly. Up through the cervical spine of the neck, to the back of the head, and eventually to the top of the head. Perhaps sensing the sweet uplift, the natural buoyancy of the spine. And around this tall spine, relax everything. Especially the shoulders and the hips. Relaxing around the breath. Now, for a minute of silence, just do that. Observe the breath relaxing around it. Nothing really to think about except letting go and being present. Now, with this relative sense of quiet, we'll retain it and be there, eyes closed for a moment. And then slowly and gently open the eyes and gaze upon the first object. And notice, what is your first impression? What strikes you as you look upon it? And then what further details do you notice? As you look a little closer, I'll amplify the image here. Some interesting markings on it, interesting features. Let's look at the second object. What is your impression here? Any similarities to the previous object? How is it different? And what details come forward for you? This next object might be a big hint. Really is similar to the previous object, at least at one end. It's a molded design, particular one indeed. What might have been the function of this object? And why is it circular on one end, but semicircular for the rest? Got another object to look at. The puzzles coming into play. What is this? What does it look like? What might its purpose be? It too has a semicircular form, part of it. Layers of shapes. Let's look at this very same object, but from a different perspective, from the back. And there's an interesting marking here. Continuation, perhaps. Similar to other shapes we've seen before. Now that we've looked at a few of these objects, each unique and presumably each with its own function, each with a purpose that serves a greater whole. Let's see how they come together to serve that whole. That video was prepared by the Iksan National Museum of the 7th century temple Ikyusa, Mireuksa, of the Baekje Kingdom in Korea. This temple and its components served somewhere around 3,000 monks in its day, educating them, housing them, providing opportunities for them to practice and worship within the halls. Now, my friends, to close our practice and to open up questions as best that we can answer them, I invite you to bow together, placing left hand on the heart, right hand on top, and offering peace, 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 peace.